Hello learners, this is Pradeep Nayak here, CEO of Fuel India. In my previous session, I spoke about different types of event, and today I'm going to talk about different category of event. But before I go ahead and talk about different category of event, I'd like to show you a small glimpse of our industry. I'm going to show you a small video of our industry of one of the events that happened in a recent time. So allow me to show you the video.
First speaker needs to be ready. Yeah, so set. Good to go. Go live in 3, 2, 1. How? Where my heart is full. Oh, I don't feel alive or cold. I see the color through their eyes. Joy of little things in life.
Good evening, India. Has comedy gone too far in this country? Is Lungi Dance really that bad a song? To discuss this in detail, we have the man of the hour, Mr. Arvind Subramanian.
Wonder where all been right. Waking up to tea in bed. Wonder where no troubles inside. Everything's at ease instead. Wonder where time can fly, no matter how long it be. Wonder where we're in paradise, no other place so happy. I see the color through the eyes. Joy of little
50-60-year-olds come up to me and say, Sadhguru, where were you when I was 20, 25? You came when I'm 60, what is the use now? Then I decided, okay, let me step out and meet all those people who are below 25 years of age.
Wonder where all these rights, waking up to tea in bed. Wonder where no troubles inside, everything's at ease instead. Wonder where time can fly, no matter how long. Wonder where we're in paradise, no other place so happy. Cause I need another paradise. Cause I need another paradise.
A big shout out to my friends Anto Philip and Shreyans Jain who have organized this event. It's such a brilliant event. I feel like if I wish I was in a 25 and attend this, though there is no restriction as such, I definitely can attend this event. But I'm seeing that there are so many options. It's such a beautiful experience to be a part of such a great event. Thanks to YouTube for helping me source this video. And once again, thanks to the Under 25 team for giving such a brilliant event to our industry, to the community, and for the society. I'm sure you guys who are listening today might have encountered this event. You might have attended this event, or you might have heard of this event. In case you haven't, this event happens every year. So make sure you look up about this event on Google and sign up for that and attend the next event that will be happening probably next year now. Now, before we go ahead, as I mentioned a little earlier, that we already had discussed different types of events. Now, different types of events are also something which would come under different categories of event. But before we go into categories of event, let me tell you that there are three broad categories based on which the types and the subcategories are created. So presentation will talk more about that. Let us quickly look at this. Yesterday we spoke about these types of events: regional events, sporting events, government, political events, cultural events, MICE, entertainment, social events, activations, charitable and fundraising events, IP events, etc. So today I'm going to touch upon categories. So categories are on three main points. The first one is categories based on size. Second one is categories based on the purpose or sector. And the third one is categories based on the key services provided. Based on this main categories is where the subcategories or the types of events are placed. You will find a lot of overlap in terms of the information. That is true because few categories might be based on size, few categories, though based on size, might be for a purpose. So as we go forward, as we discuss in detail the subcategories, I will touch upon those points. So let's start with the first one, that is categories based on size. The first category under based on size is mega events. As the name goes, mega, it is something where a lot of people are involved, a lot of government people are involved, or it could be the target audience is much larger than 30, 40, 50,000 people, or it could be the economic impact these kind of events can have, or it is the amount of people who travel across the world or from across the nation to this event. It is also related to how much tourism or the publicity these kind of events gain. So normally mega events is something which we talk about 50,000 people, 60,000 people, or a lakh people. The first image that you see is the Soccer World Cup, and which is a stadium which is filled with around 40,000 people, and it happens over a period of 1 month, and a lot of thousands and lakhs of people attend this World Cup. At the same time, the second image that you see, I'm sure each one of you who are listening to this video might have heard of it or might have experienced this Kumbh Mela, where lakhs and lakhs of people who come there to pay their respect, and they want to, as a pilgrimage, they come there. And during that time of the year when they drop, and it happens, as far as my information, once in 5-10 years, Kumbh Mela that happens, there are lakhs and lakhs of people who come there. So these are the events which are termed as mega events. You might be wondering as to how event management would relate to this. Okay, so such events or such activities that are happening would definitely need an event company, an event agency, or at times things like Kumbh Mela would have multiple event agencies coming together to deliver something of that scale and that level. So yes, event managers do play a very important role in terms of planning, in terms of the safety, in terms of how the activities should happen, how the audience will be handled, how their experiences will be taken care. And plus, in events like Kumbh Mela, there will be multiple brands who are again doing multiple activities and events. So yes, so mega event, this is all about. I'm sure you can look up about even Olympic Games is one of the mega event that happens once in 2 years or once in 4 years. So this is something that you guys can look up to. Next, we have categories based on size is Hallmark events. As Rishi defined, that Hallmark event as those events that are either one-time events or recurring events or of limited edition to enhance the awareness, appeal, and profitability of a tourism destination. What I see is that as the name goes Hallmark, what happens is that these events are something that is kind of trademark to that location. You can take that word. The reason being, for example, when the examples that I've given here, the carnival at Rio de Janeiro. Now, Rio de Janeiro. So whenever somebody says carnival, whenever we think about carnival, the first thing that comes to our mind is the Rio Carnival. There has also been a movie made on that, an animated movie. When somebody talks about the beer fest, somebody talks about Oktoberfest, our mind automatically tunes to Munich or to Germany. When somebody talks about Tomatina Festival, our mind immediately channels ourselves to Spain. So because that country or that region started that cult following for that kind of event, or that is a trademark or a hallmark event that they have, for which people across the world, though you can replicate a similar event in your own country, in your own space, or in your own region, but still it will be known for something that has started in that place. For example, I say there is also a Goa Carnival that happens, but people still from across the world would want to go and attend a Rio Carnival that happens in Brazil. At the same time, though people attempted multiple Tomatino festival that they wanted to do in India, but I'm not sure if they succeeded or failed with that. But still, if given a chance, I would personally would want to visit Spain and attend this event. So here is a little glimpse of those events. The first image talks about the Rio Carnival. I'm sure somewhere in the news or on different social networking sites, you would have seen glimpses of it. I would say that in case you have not experienced it, go to YouTube, search for Rio Carnival, look at the video, look at the grandeur and what it gets executed, look at how an entire city, how an entire country comes together to create such an event. Look at Tomato Festival. I'm sure you guys have seen movies like Zindagi Na Milegi Dobara, which has promoted it extensively. The next category I'm talking about is regional events. We also discussed this in the under the types of events. Yes, but regional events or also a little bit of overlap on the hallmark events or on mega events. The reason being, for example, the snake boat race. It's a regional event. It happens in Kerala only. But the number of people who attend could be 10, 20, 30, 40,000 people. So it is also a mega event. So that will be overlap. This is what I told in the beginning, that there will be overlap. But yes, we consider it as a regional event. For example, the Kambla that happens in Mudubidre in Mangalore. It's a bull race that happens. Jallikattu, which happens in Tamil Nadu, or the Ran Utsav, which happens in Gujarat. So these are all regional events specific to that region, and that region is known for that. This is a smaller version of a hallmark event, I would say. The reason being, the examples that I've used in Hallmark are more country-based. Here I'm using region-based. When I say region, a state as such. So this is a small glimpse of regional events. The first image that you see is the snake boat race that happens in Kerala every year. The next one is the Kambla that happens in Mudubidre, Mangalore. And the third one is the Ranotsav, which happens in Gujarat, which if you see, our legend actor Amitabh Bachchan has extensively promoted that. You would see it in different ads promoting the Gujarat tourism. The next category, the broader category we are under, is categories based on the purpose or sector. So there is a name to it. There's a purpose of doing it, or it will relate to a particular sector. So the first thing that we're talking about under categories based on the purpose or sector is sporting events. Now, yesterday we discussed about sporting events too. In a previous session, we discussed about sporting events. Events like IPL, events like Commonwealth, events like Olympic, they are all sporting events. They do come under mega events also, but at the same time, they are broadly categorized under sporting event. The T20 Championship, the Grand Prix that happens, the Ocean Race, the Commonwealth Games, and many of the Wimbledon, the Premier Badminton League, and the Pro Kabaddi League, the Hockey League, and state level, interstate level, or it could be district level, or it could be international level. There are different levels of sporting activities that happen, and each and every activity is associated with an event, and that's where the event companies play a major role. These are the glimpses of that. The first one that you see is a Olympic opening ceremony. That's what I said. That's how event companies are associated. The opening ceremony is completely planned and conceptualized and executed by the event company, including the IPL opening ceremony that you're seeing, the Grand Prix also. So there'll be a lot of things, or a lot of logistics, or a lot of details that the event companies have to take care of. Next categories based on the purpose or sector, we talk about corporate, business, trade events. So this big chunk of event that we do, very big chunk, because around 40, I would say a little more than 40, around 50 to 60% of people who run event companies cater to this sector. So we're talking about meetings, incentives, conference, and exhibition. In my previous session, where I spoke about types of event, I did elaborate a little more on MICE events. So what are those? Which is meetings, incentives, conference, exhibition. Again, as I told you in the previous session, conference is something where people come and share knowledge. They talk about the future. They talk about the current scenario. It could be a metro rail conference, which is talking about a metro, or which is about a water management conference, which is talking about conserving water, or it could be anything, a buyer seller meet, seminars, conventions. So all this comes under, so every business house, every government body, every trade body would require, so it is again, it is a particular sector. So it can be any sector, could be for the tourism sector, for the government. So when I spoke about government events in my previous session, that too also comes a little bit under corporate business or trade events. Because there are some exposition that is hosted by the government, there are some expositions hosted by the event management companies, or it could be by associations or trade bodies. For example, Leadership Summit that we are looking at by Economic Times, or we can be looking at Global Investor Meet, which is hosted by individual state XCon, which is a very big expo that happens here at BIEC, which is there for like a week's time, and buyers or sellers from across the world participate there. One of the biggest transactions that happens there. Aero Show, I'm sure everybody would have heard of it, that happens in Bangalore. And again, yes, it is a event where the show also takes place, and at the same time there's a huge uh, expo that happens, including Defense Expo. There was summit where all the global leaders come and meet under one roof. They discuss about the future of their countries, their businesses, and G20 summit, and so on. So there will be many more conferences, and the healthcare conference, the automobile conference, and conference for education. So all this kind of meetings or seminars or workshops or conferences or all these come under corporate business trade events. This is done for a purpose, and this is done for a sector. That's why it's category based on the purpose or sector. And a lot of companies, could be employees, could be business stakeholders, each and everybody would be involved. And how event guys are involved? Well, from planning the location, from designing, making sure the visitors are there, getting the registrations, running the event, and also taking care of them reaching back to their places, either through logistics or in terms of the travel shows. So this is completely about corporate business and trade events. Now, let me give you a small glimpse of the corporate trade event. The first image that you look at is an incentive program. Incentive program, as I discussed in my previous session, it is about gratifying employees or business stakeholders or dealers or distributors for performing really good in their business, and that's how they incentivize them by taking them on a cruise, taking them to a luxury destination, or could be taking them to a five-star property, doing some activities, sharing their information, and also talking about the future that they would want to, and the amount of business that they would want to do here. The second image that you look at is a trade fair or an exposition or an exhibition that is happening at a particular place. So in exhibition, as I mentioned, it's where a buyer and seller would come under one roof. The seller would showcase his product, showcase his service, and the buyer would get more information and plan to buy those products. The third image is about Frames 2019, a conference by FICCI, wherein their panel discussion is on, where people are discussing about different topics. So now let me go on to the next slide. Categories based on the purpose or sector. I'm still under that category itself, the broader category. And here we talk about cultural events and fairs. So we spoke about this in our previous session too. I'm sure you guys might be thinking as to how many times would I relate it to. The reason being, types of event were so many types of events, which was covered in our previous session, had all these elements kind of overlapping. So cultural events, festivals, and fairs, as the name goes, it is something which is more related to the tradition and more related to the regional traditions that is there. Again, here it overlaps a little bit on regional events too. For example, Holi, Ganesh Chaturthi, Dashera, Ram Leela, Janmashtami, Diwali, Eid, and Christmas, and many such occasions and the events that happen around that. So the first image that you see, the Sera. So what happens here is that the way it happens in Mysore is going to be completely different. The way it happens in Delhi, it's going to be completely different. So that's why itself it comes under cultural. The reason being, the name of the festival is same, okay, but the way it is celebrated here and the way it's celebrated there, it's going to be different. Ganesh Chaturthi, it happens in Mumbai. Krishna Janmashtami across India. So anywhere. So Ganesh Chaturthi happens even in South. So these are cultural based events. The way it is done belongs to that culture or to that region specific. And how event companies contribute here? Yes, they help plan, because this doesn't happen in one location or just one. It happens in multiple. Like Ganesh Chaturthi is not just one installation. It is installations across Mumbai or Karnataka or Andhra or Telangana or Tamil Nadu. So different event companies are involved at different places, making sure the execution is done well. Similarly, Krishna Janmashtami done at different malls, at different colonies, and Dussehra. Yes, it has a different thing. It happens in Mysore in that grandeur that you're seeing as an image. There is a complete celebration to it, and lakhs of people come and attend this event that happens in Mysore in the month of October, November. But at the same time, there are smaller versions of this that happen in Mangalore, or could be in Madikeri, or could be in Chennai, or could be in Hyderabad, and all those places. Now we talk about another subcategory under categories based on purpose or sector, that is charitable and fundraising event. Time and again I've told this, that this has all been detailed discussed, but again I'll touch upon this. Charitable and fundraising events, the main sole objective of this is that the format can be anything. It could be a concert, it could be an art exhibition, it could be a marathon, it could be anything. The purpose is to generate certain amount of revenue that can go towards charity. So some of the events are Airtel Delhi Half Marathon, Pinkathon, Global Citizen. These events have usually three main players. One is the artist or the celebrity that we call, the charitable institution that gets associated with, and the event organizer. So it's a clear play between these three people. And what happens is that the charity organization who's associated, they would need the fund, the artist would need the publicity, and the businesses got over by event organizers. So what happens with event organizers is that they might not do it on a complete revenue model, but they might do it on a profit sharing, or it depends upon the event agency or the organizer who is associated with it. Some images, the first one, Global Citizen Festival. This happened last year in India. You can just look up on YouTube about this event. It's very, very well executed event. One of the biggest event that happened last year in India, because of the amount of people who were involved and the amount of audience. I think around 60,000 people attended this event. Yes, it happened in Mumbai. So look up on YouTube about this event. The second one is an art exhibition, and the third one is Delhi Half Marathon by Airtel. So this marathons keep happening. There is one TCS marathon that happens in Bangalore. There's Standard Chartered that happens in Mumbai, and there is a Pinkathon that happens, and there's cyclothon that happens. There are many. So all not every such event is I would say into linked to charity. Some are, but mostly they are actually. Mostly these events are linked to charity, and I'm sure you would see, like if you do a little more research on this on Google or YouTube, you will find out that they would be linked to one charitable organization, and we'll also see the amount of fundraising that they've done. How events play a role is in terms of planning, executing these events, how to make it more experiential for the people to attend year on year, or every quarter when it happens. They would want people to experience it in a different way. So that's where event managers play a very important role in terms of increasing the experience. Now, categories based on the purpose and sector. Under the same broad category, we're talking about entertainment and art event. So entertainment and art event are something wherein entertainment events are conducted either temporary or permanent, so that large audiences are kind of experience, like given an experience together. Or art events are something. So these events are not for a few hours or few just for a day. These events are for a week, 10 days, months. Like for example, the Global Village setup which is in Dubai, which is for like 3 months or 4 months. The Kalagoda Art Festival that happens here is also not for a day or two. It is all there for like 7 to 8 days. The Indian Art Fair and the Nakshatra Dance Festival. So all these art and entertainment based events doesn't happen for a day. It happens for a little more than that, like 7 days or 8 days, or at least for 3 days. And what happens is that this event, the objective is mainly to promote the local culture, the future trends in that sector, or promoting the artisans, or promoting the people who are involved in developing those art or the kind of entertainment. So that's the main objective of it. And also, mostly these events are public. So the first image that you see is the Kalagoda Street Festival that happens. The second image is one of the street painting festival that happens in Berlin. The third image that you see is the Global Village in Dubai. I would request you all guys to look up about these events on Google to get more clarity, so that you will be able to understand these events much better and how the stakeholders are involved. Next thing under the categories based on the purpose or sector is the social or life cycle event. Now you might be thinking that how come social event? I spoke about this in the previous session also, like types of events, social events. How will this kind of, yes. Social events like birthday parties, weddings, or it could be a reception or gala dinner, anything will come under a purpose or a sector. The reason being, it is all done with a purpose. What is the purpose of wedding? Yes, there are two people coming together, they want to get married, and hence a birthday party also has a purpose. Every thing that is done under social event has a purpose. So this is something which is picked up in the recent times. Wedding planners, birthday party planners, social event planners, these are the different terms that we've heard about. And this is one of the fastest booming sector that we've been seeing. All of a sudden, people who are in the corporate sector are also focusing on social events. They have made it kind of their forte to get into this. So even people are nowadays looking at organizing and conducting baby shower, and even few places abroad, they're also doing some programs that happen after the funeral, that even that is outsourced to an event management company. So that's where we have reached now. So from I would say from birth to death, that is from your baby shower, that is before birth that happens, and after your death, also the funeral and the functions that happen after the funeral is also taken care of by event companies. So that's why we say event managers or event companies are required from birth till death, and they're there with you always. This is some of the glimpses of the social event. The first one is about a birthday party. It's a themed birthday party. The second one is about a wedding. The third one is about a social gathering. Now, categories based on key services and business. So this is one of my favorite category, the third broad category that we're talking about. And we did speak about this in the previous session, that intellectual properties. So intellectual property is something that I personally believe in, and I have a very strong emotion towards this because it's something that unique that you create, and which will have a cult following, which will have a community built and people following. What you saw the video in the beginning, Under 25 Summit, yeah, that is also an IP that is owned by Phase One now, which is an event company, and Anto Philip and Shreyans Jain. So intellectual property, as it says, refers to those events whose intellectual property, that is the concept, logo name, etc., is wholly or partly owned by the event management company. Why is it said that wholly or partly? The reason being, sometimes it will be in collaboration with the brand, or sometimes it will be solely owned by them. So hence it is so told as wholly or partly. Some of the events are like Sunburn, which is by Percept, India Bike Week by 70mg, Bacardi NH7 Weekender by OML. We have Mirchi Music Awards, which is by Radio Mirchi. So the first image that you see is Sula Fest, the second India Bike Week, the third one IFA, which is owned by Wizcraft. So these are the intellectual properties. These are something that happen once in a year, or based on the calendar that is defined by that company. These are the IPs owned by that particular brand or the event management companies. The second category, subcategory under the broader category of key services and business, is activations or promotional campaigns. These refer to event activities usually in small sizes, but in large numbers. Like for example, an activation, for example, if you're launching a new car under Maruti or Hyundai or Kia or any that for that matter. So what happens is that the business opportunity for this car is across India. So the activation will happen across India, across all cities. India being such a vast country, I'm sure it is divided into different zones, and accordingly each zone is given to a particular event management agency and they take care of it. Yes, but it is small in size but many in number. So an activation can be like, for a brand, can be like the size could be a small 10 by 10 or 20 by 20 display in a mall, but it could be 10 malls, 20 malls, 30 malls simultaneously happening. Well, this requires a lot of planning. This requires a lot of coordination in terms of timing, because it all happens together. Your contacts have to be good, your production quality has to be good, and the way you connect with all the agencies or the sub agencies that you work with across different regions will all matters. At the same time, what happens is that these are bigger brands who will have some brand guidelines, and that has to be standard and maintained across. So activations, look at this. The first image we're talking about is a road show. So there could be multiple vehicles like road show doing different routes. One might be going to Karnataka, one might be going to Andhra, one might be going to Tamil Nadu. So they want to reach out to maximum audience. So these are the activities which happen simultaneously. Mostly activations are something that is taken care or adapted by each and every brand who has a product which is completely B2C. The second image is about a mall activation. As I told you, mall activation, it might be a small space in a mall, but it would be 10 malls or 20 malls happening simultaneously. The third one also, it is a promotion of ACC. So what also happened, the event company had to plan is some or the other kind of activity to attract the crowd. So there'll be multiple displays or there'll be multiple activations happening simultaneously at a mall. But how do you attract the customer? How do you attract the attention of the consumer is what plays a very important role for the event companies to come up with some out of the box ideas. So this is all about activations. So with this, I have covered pretty much all the different types of events, subcategories of events, and also the broad categories of event. I hope this video gives you clarity about what are the different types of event, what are the different categories of event, and it helps you understand more about our industry. At the same time, what I would also request you is that if it's possible, you can go on to YouTube or you can go on to Google. I know I keep referring this websites. Go there and just look up on those videos that I mentioned, look up about those events that I mentioned. You will be able to relate better as to what I said. And in case you have any doubts, you saw my email ID on the last slide. You can feel free to write to me, and I'll be more than happy to answer your questions. Thank you all, and have a great day.
Thank you.